Thank you very much for coming to the Problem Structuring Methods Special Interest Group Annual General Meeting. Way too many acronyms in that title. So somebody's just coming. Can you mute, please? Thank you. So we're going to have a review of the last year in the land of soft OR and problem structuring. We're going to look at what we've been up to, what we promised to do, what we have done, what we haven't done, and think about things moving forward. So first of all, what have we been up to? So the activities in the last year. First of all, we had a meeting with the special educational needs group from government, and we actually helped them with their wicked problem of trying to sort this stuff out, making suggestions about the different kinds of methods they could use. What we do need to do is follow that up. So Martin, I hope you can get in touch with the lady who's running that group. It was a really interesting session. It'd be lovely to know if she's managed to use any of the stuff that we did. And maybe have a follow-up session.
Yeah, I will. Yes.
We had a great talk and discussion for Kathy Kotiadis and Antoella Tacco on using online facilitation, which of course is really pertinent after the pandemic. Well, I say after the pandemic, we still have a pandemic present, but after us all having to lock down and go online all of a sudden, it was a really good discussion to have. It was postponed due to COVID, but we did get there in the end. And then we had a highly interesting talk on the use of keywords to help enable change management by Paula Haas at Robert Bosch, which I found really, really interesting, which is why I'd asked her in the first place, because, you know, it might not be strictly PSMs, but this is the kind of stuff that we actually quite often need to use. And it really helped us in thinking about different methods of use. We had an incredibly successful SORP stream at OR64. We had speakers every day of the conference. It was some really interesting and highly relevant sessions. It was great to see the room full every single day. The representation was amazing. We also had a panel on the future direction of SORPs, which was really good. And we're hoping to be writing that up into a short OR article for Inside OR for next month. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it in for this month, but hopefully we can get it in for next. So a big thank you to Alberto, Adrian and Chris for organising that stream. I'm going to try and get them to do it again next year, but we'll see what happens. We are hoping to have one more talk before the end of the year. We did have somebody organised. They weren't able to do it in this month. So we've had our AGM, but we're hoping that we can get another one organised before the end of the year. So looking back at previous AGMs. So in 2019, when we first kicked this off, we actually did a survey and we'd really like to run that survey again. We asked people where they worked, what industry they were from, and we then took a look at the way that they used what area they worked in, and then how they were actually using various different methodologies from the problem structuring methods toolbox. And we compared it to a 1992 study that was done by John Mingers. And I don't know who the first name, Sarah T, or is that T Sarah? I'm not sure. But anyway, does somebody know the name? Nope, nobody's coming up. Okay. I feel embarrassed not citing somebody properly. Anyway, we had a pretty even mix of academics and practitioners, and they told us how they'd been using things. As usual, we saw soft systems methodology was probably one of the most widely used, but also as usual, we found that people were just generalizing on PSMs. Causal loop diagrams were being used a lot, but we also found that people were actually cherry picking the methods. So we picked up lots of stuff about alternative methods that they were using as well, different methods that people were using. So part of the reason why I'm covering this is because we would really like to run this again. We'd like to run another survey to see what problem structuring methods tools people are using, or even if they're using methods which perhaps we wouldn't strictly call problem structuring methods that could be defined as a problem structuring method if we took it by the constitutive rules of problem structuring. So if anybody's got any thoughts on this, thoughts on ways we could develop, if they'd like to see the questionnaire, and maybe they've got some thoughts about different questions we could put in, please do get in touch with us and help us to take this forward so we can rerun it again next year and hopefully have the results for next year's AGM. So last AGM we had was 2020. We haven't had one since then. That's okay. by the Constitution, we are allowed to have one every 2 years. However, what we didn't do was we didn't give you 21 days notice, and I do apologise for that. We are supposed to do that apparently by our Constitution. We now actually have proper constitutional SIGs. And I would put a call out there. This is partly why we desperately need a secretary. Please, 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 someone come forward and be the secretary for this SIG. We could do with a secretary, and we could do with somebody to help us with events. And it would really help this SIG to be even more powerful and better if somebody would come forward and help us with that. So just putting a plea out there, please. Okay, so as from the previous years, from the previous couple of years, people wanted a repository. We now have the space for the repository. I'm learning how to put things in that space. We will be building that. It's been slow, but we're getting there. Talks, well, we'd like to hear what you'd like to know. And we'd like to know what you want in the repository. And that's partly why we're going to be doing the session with Colin and using Strategy Finder. Very unusual use of Strategy Finder, and that hopefully will mean that we're all moving the methodology on a bit by doing this today, by doing something different with it. So taking stock, I'm now going to pass over to Martin.
All right, thank you. So this is essentially this is a very quick canter through some things that have appeared over the last sort of few years. So systems thinking is becoming increasingly important, and if you want some evidence of that, the toolkit on GoScience, the GoScience area, is definitely evidence of that. The government major project portfolio, which is now creeping up to a decent chunk of £1 trillion, is in need of systems thinking. One of the recent reports that I wrote with Mike Bourne at Cranfield looked at the real need to bring in problem structuring methods, systems approaches, and general ways of dealing with complexity to help with that portfolio. There's the strategy from the National Engineering and Policy Centre. So, well, this is a bit wordy, but it was the quickest way we could find to just sort of convey all of these sort of pieces to you. So this is recently published in the last sort of couple of weeks, and one of its 4 pillars is really about establishing a holistic view, a systems view. So again, we're seeing sort of more interest in a systems view, holism, etc. And the systems thinking toolkit on the GoScience website. I mean, this is a really useful sort of step forward. There are sort of closer links being formed across through the government departments. I know there are some folk here from the problem structuring methods special interest group. I think there's an increasing interest in problem structuring methods and soft methods, systems thinking from sort of across government. And of course, we now have a systems thinking SIG as well. So we have our kind of sister SIG, which is also going to focus sort of interest on the issues of systems thinking. Christina, do you know how many members there are in the systems thinking SIG? I mean, we've got about 1,200, I think, ish last count. But are they? You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. You're on mute. Somebody needs to bring out a tune, don't they? We were talking earlier on, and she said that she knew within the first week that they were up just after the OR64, they had already got something between 80 and 100 members. So that would just be the sign up from OR64 launch. I suspect they will be gathering a lot more over the next year. They'll probably have as many as us, but as John very neatly said earlier on today when we were in the events meeting, at the end of the day, you might have 1,000 members in your SIG, but if you only have 20 turn up to every meeting, then you've got 20 members in your SIG. Because, you know, the truth is you can get it out to lots of people, but if they're not turning up, they're not really active members of your SIG, are they? So we do have a hardcore of about 20 people that turn up, and almost the same people that turn up every time we have a talk. So they are our real members, and they're people who are active, which I say thank you to every single one of you. But also, please, can we have a secretary in the events coordinator?
You said that before.
A lot easier. I know, I'm going to say it again. and you know what? When I'm stuck in those strategy finder sessions, I'm just going to keep going. Give me a secretary. Give me a secretary. I'm not very good at admin, you know. So yeah, they're doing well. They're doing well and rapidly. And I'm really looking forward to some future events together.
Excellent. Yeah, great. Okay, so that's, I think we've covered everything from that slide.
Yep.
Okay, so the future strategy event. So we, Colin, please feel free to sort of start sharing your slides if you've got some intro things. And I think that the key question for us is, what should the vision be for the SIG? What is it that it would be useful to people? So what would you like to get from the SIG? What is it that we can do? So Christina and I are very conscious that there's a lot happened over the last sort of few years. People that have there's a renewed interest in sort of soft methods, systems thinking, problem structuring methods. Perhaps the requirements have changed a bit since we last had an AGM. So we're very keen to just take stock and to look at what we can do to help you. Colin, over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Good. Let's see if I can just manage to share my screen. Okay, I'm not going to bother to blow these slides up. It's not worth it. We're not using Strategy Finder for anything that it's ever been useful before. We're using it really just as a whiteboard, which we hope might lead to some structuring. We don't know. I mean, this is just what it's usually used for. And as I put at the top, it's actually interesting that the people who are using a lot are wouldn't actually claim to be operational researchers. And they're mostly not in the UK, which is also interesting. And the dominant use at the moment, I would say, is in Norway and Austria, which is interesting anyway. Anyway, that's what it's usually used for, not for the purpose that not what we're going to do today. What we need to do, and I guess you'll do this, Martin or Christina, is we need to get this group. How many people have we got now? You know?
So we currently have 23 people in the room.
23 people.
Yeah.
I mean, we're set up for 7 groups, so that makes 7 groups of 3, or we could to make the group slightly larger and just have a small number of groups, whatever you think you want to do in the different rooms. I think the idea here is that you're going to actually be in a subgroup and therefore able to talk to somebody else in a Zoom room and then actually contribute to the whiteboard of ideas from that subgroup. And then we can all have a look at what we've got and actually maybe do some structuring or whatever with it, whatever we seem to think might be appropriate.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Hi. Right. So can everybody see my screen?
Not yet. Not yet.
No, I'm out breakout rooms.
I'm
seeing everybody.
Indeed. Okay.
You have to share again.
Now you should see it.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Now, I mean, just out of curiosity, you can see there's a whole load of different icons on the top for the facilitator, including ways of doing enabling a group to evaluate ideas either on rating scales or with like sticky blobs and so on. That's this little icon, which is the weighting scale. This lot here is ways of just changing category, because you can use lots of colors. So, for example, if we said that, let's say the impacts show that for practice, we think we want a category, we can apply a category to that, and there's a standard default set of categories like this. So we could actually say, well, this is a strategy, an agreed strategy or whatever. Obviously, we can create a whole load of different views. This is what I was using earlier, which is the setting up a new gathering, what we call a blind gathering. So you're blind to what other participants are doing and so on. And then there's a whole load of analysis stuff, which enables you to find loops, feedback loops, enables you to explore. And there's some advanced analysis as well, which is where you can do between influence ranges, betweenness, closeness, all sorts of network analyses. And some of those are just based on social network stuff, but they're very useful from the point of view of problem structuring. Which means you can also find the potency, what's the most significant driver of the whole lot, including taking account of feedback loops. So one of the projects I'm working on at the moment in Norway, which is a disaster planning piece, we got thousands of feedback loops there, and this enables us to find which of the items in a feedback loop, if you could mitigate that, you could actually mitigate as many feedback loop vicious cycles as you can find, and so on. So there's all of that. Anyway, back to what we've got here. So if I use purple maybe as the themes, we've got this sort of, I don't know whether that actually captures that one totally, but we've certainly got this one down here. I'm just going to change these just to try and create at least a summary on these. I suppose we've got this demo, so practical sessions. I suppose there's actually two bits there. One is a practical session.
Okay, see you in a bit.
But we've also got this bit about technology demonstration and new software. It's probably a different one. There's a different thing. So let's actually just pick up that. Non-OR people, this bit, totally different, another thing. Click on. Theory to practice, another one. I guess there's this just sort of stuff about. There's actually this thing down here, a variety of formats, which we probably ought to pick up on as well.
Yeah, that's quite operational, isn't it? It's different to the other things.
It is. They're rather different to other things.
Yeah.
But let's just actually just pick up those. So I guess in a sense, if we just look at the purples for the different topics that we've got.
Colin, there's some stuff on the other tab as well. At least two groups, I think, were using the other tab.
What, the default tab?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Oh, yeah. Bloody hell.
There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, there is. Bloody hell. You see, this is the problem, isn't it, with using... Okay, we've got another sort of stuff. I mean, actually, we don't need to know which group put them in, so I'm just going to take those out. Yeah, we could do is actually pulling some of those across. What have we got here? Theory to practice. We've got the theory to practice stuff. Now I could bring all these onto the other screen, but given the time we've got, let's just have a look through what we've got. Tie this up. Got a theory to practice bit up here, which is similar to what we've got on our screen. So that links in okay. More events like today. What the hell does that mean?
I think that links in with technology and actually doing demos of technology and actually having a chance to use them. Yeah.
And we've got, this is the linking to grand challenges, asynchronous resources, creating repository of application best practices, and some different stuff there then. Some mentoring stuff here as well though.
Yeah, the mentoring was really quite interesting. Creating opportunities for ERCs and others to join an experienced practitioner when they're working. Just to watch.
And then there's
the job of recorder.
There's a big cluster up here. Look, round 17 links between academic and practice. Let's pick up that one. Certainly a different thing. I think a lot of these others connect. Okay, mentoring is certainly another different topic. Gain and understanding the background industry interest. Well, I think we've got that sort of covered. That's another contributor to the other one. Developing guidance for ERCs on methods in the field.
That links to 65, I think. 14 could link to 65, which 65 seems to be a different, or is a different thing.
Well, let's actually just put it. I'm just going to put in that link. We've just moved this. Could be like, there we are. Let's just put in 14 to 55, did you say?
65.
65.
Yeah.
Go that way, then that will have the link in there. I can also, I mean, if we want to, we can just, then we probably need to see the hidden links. So link back down, what was I doing? We were doing that. We got, so that one was not a different theme. We've got that one that we were looking at. Mentoring is clearly that's something new as well. That one, LinkedIn, presentation by experts, the links between academic theory and practice. That's similar to 17, isn't it? State of the art for publishing PSM research. That's a different thing. Repository, that's a different thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm misbehaving with my mouse. Let's at least make those purple as well. And linking with other SIGs is another, whoops, got the whole lot selected. Linking with other SIGs, systems thinking and policy design. That's a different idea as well. Let's just get rid of some of this stuff that we don't need as well. Group 1.
We're into our last few minutes, Colin. So
okay.
I think it's been absolutely wonderful to see. Yeah.
We've got something coming through there, haven't we?
Absolutely. And I think it's been wonderful to see Strategy Finder, in use, and to, to
try. Pity all this wasn't on the same screen, isn't it?
I think we basically probably needed a session that was just totally devoted to using Strategy Finder, and maybe we could have just done a little training session with something, a frivolous example to start with, and then gone into a more meaty session.
I actually think we would have been fine if just another 10 seconds of explanation of what you were looking for would have been enough, actually, and we would have put it all on the right page for you.
Yeah, well,
I think me and Mike went rogue.
I had thought I'd said go to the tab called question.
Obviously, didn't hear you, Colin.
I personally, from our point of view, which we're the ones that want to know all this information, this is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, it is.
I mean, mentoring wasn't something I'd thought of before. That's a brilliant idea. That would be really cool. Yeah.
Because this linking to other SIGs and contributing to multi-methodologies is also there. But mentoring, I meant to turn that purple as well.
So in terms of a way ahead, I think Christina and I have got a little bit of work to do in sort of putting our heads together. And
we need to write a blog about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else who wants to join us is very welcome. And I think what we'll do is sort of digest what we have here and then send out an email probably over the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks, just distilling the key headlines, because I think you've all been really generous with your time. Thank you so much for all the ideas. I think this is an immensely rich resource from which we can draw. So I think the key things for us are what are the sort of things we're going to do next. What does that mean? What are the things that we'll maybe put sort of a little bit later on in the sort of next year or whenever as activities we can take off the sort of the starting blocks. I think we've got plenty to do. As Christina said, a plug for anyone who wants to help us. I'll shamelessly plug it again. Please feel free, because I think there's quite a lot to do based on what we've got here. But I think this has been absolutely amazing. Christina, do you want to sort of add any?
What I will do, Martin, probably sometime tomorrow when I'm sitting in an airport, is I'll just try and create a whole series of views around each of the topics. So we've got each of those clustered now to properly.
This is a really good question that's just come up in the chat, Colin. How do we get access to Strategy Finder?
Well, it depends whether you're an academic or not. Was the question from an
quite
academic?
right?
I'm not sure.
Because academics, there's an at-cost deal on that. Because as you can see, it's based upon this. You have access to a server because it's browser-based. Because what it's trying to do, so many corporates now won't allow any software to be downloaded onto their own computers.
Yeah.
And so making it browser-based actually gets around that problem.
So Kirsty said it's actually both. He wants to know for both.
Both what?
Both practitioner and academic.
Well, practitioner again depends how many users you want, how many, and so on. The best thing to do is contact Strategy Finder about that. I can't do that. I've managed to get a deal for academics. So academics can get it at cost, which means the cost of setting up a server, because you have your own server, which is obviously something that only you have access to. It's totally private to you. You can then set up your own users and your own super users, we call them, which is facilitators who have obviously privileged access. And there's very, very high levels of security on it for obvious reasons as well. And so for academics, they just pay for the cost of the server and the cost of maintaining the server. That's but, for others, it's that you need to contact Strategy Finder directly.
Kwasi was happy with that one. Fantastic.
Great. Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Colin, for all your help with the session. I think it's been totally brilliant.
Okay, and if you've got the emails of everybody, Martin, because it'd be good just to send them a copy of each of the clusters when we've got them.
I don't have everyone's email address, but I think Karen can probably send them out for us.
Or if not, if anybody wants a copy of what we've finished up with and clustered and so on, then I could just stick those into a Word file and then they could be emailed to everybody. So everybody's got a copy of what has been done.
That would be helpful, and then I can send it to everybody that registered for this event.
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. That'd be great. That'd be great. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good.
If Colin was going to continue structuring, I don't know if he's going to do that live or not. I mean, I'd be happy to stay on and watch if that's an option, but if it isn't, then that's fine.
I could do, but I'd quite like to go and have some dinner. I'm traveling to Norway tomorrow, and because of the rail strike, I'm going to have to get to Heathrow phenomenally early with about 4 hours wait before my flight. So I shall do some farting around at Heathrow. Try and I won't do any violence to what you've done. I'll just actually combine these two views and then just split them up into a subset of views, just so we look. You've got each one in a little cluster on its own.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Colin. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Okay. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for coming, all of you. And please, if anybody out there has got any spare time to come and be a secretary or an events coordinator, or even just help out.
So needy.
Yeah, I am. I'm so needy. Please.
Right.
You're not going to feel sorry
everyone.
for me. I know it's like, you just took on too much.
It's nice to see you again. It's a nice group.
Yeah.
Nice group.
Yeah, indeed.
Good to see some nice faces.
So thanks, Martin. Thanks, Christina. Yeah.
Take care. Thanks, David.
Yeah, well, thank you all for coming and giving us your thoughts. It's really opened up my ideas about what we can do as well. It's brilliant.
It's a nice group. Hey, Mike.
Thanks.
Good to see you, Mike. Bye, Chris.
Bye, Chris. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, bye.
Take care. Bye, Chris. Bye.